Okay, folks, here we go with Ghostbusters, the board game from Cryptozoic. Okay, now, first thing we want to do to set up Ghostbusters is decide which type of gameplay we are going to do. There's two different ones in the base game, the retail base game for Ghostbusters, and that is we can do either a campaign where we will do a set of 4 scenarios and we will keep our XP and all that as we go along from one scenario to another. And each scenario grouping, so to say, in the campaign is divided by colors. Okay, so for the Slimer here, we would have these green colored scenario cards for that campaign. For Idolines, I don't know how to pronounce that one, but for him it's gray. And then for Stay Puff, it would be blue. And there's 4 of these scenarios in each campaign section for each of the big bads. And then there's one-off scenarios, so they are yellow, and we have one for Slimer here, and then one for the other 2. Alright, for this game, we are going to play the Slimer situation, okay, and we're going to do the one-off scenario. Okay, now if you are doing the campaign, you would look at the campaign cards. There's 4 of them in each section, like I said, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then for each one, it's the same thing. It's 1, 2, 3 for each of the big bads. Alright, so you start off at 1, go to 4, and then move on to the next guy, and then on to the next guy. But being we're doing the one-off for the Slimer situation, we're going to take the yellow campaign card for the Slimer situation, okay, and we're going to take the rest of the campaign cards, and we're going to put them back in the box. They will not be used for the game. Okay, we are also going to return Stay Puff and Idolines again. Sorry, don't know how to pronounce it. We're going to take their minis, put them back in the box. They won't be used for this game. Okay, next we're going to set up the board. Alright, if we look at the scenario card, you'll see they have a picture of how the map should be put together. The game comes with 9 of these double-sided tiles, and they're all numbered from P1 to P9, or S1 to S9, depending on what side you're using. Okay, S is streets, P is park. Okay, so we'll look at the map, and we'll look to see how each tile is configured. In this scenario, the P1 S1 tile isn't used, so that will go back to the box. But the rest of them, we will look to see which way the numbers are aligned on the scenario card, and we'll place the tile facing that way, either on the park or street side, depending on what the scenario calls. Okay, so here we have P7, Park 7, where the P7 is down here at the bottom facing in, and then next to it we have Street 8, where S8 is facing down and it's butt up right next to P7. Okay, and we'll just go along, find the rest of the tiles and arrange them the way the card dictates. Once we've done that, we're going to take the Spirit World board and the PKE Meter board. We're going to place them off to the side of the actual game board. Okay, now the PKE Meter, you can orient this any way you wish to. It randomizes how the ghost or Ghostbusters moves in certain conditions. Okay, for this video, we're just going to keep it where 1, 2, 3 is facing up. Keep it a little simple. Okay, next we're going to take a look at the scenario card here. Alright, and where it says Spirit World, it'll tell you how many of each class ghost goes into the Spirit World to start the game off. Okay, so here it says we need 5 Class 1 ghosts. So we look for the Class 1 ghosts here, which are the Galloping Ghouls. Okay, we'll take 5 of these guys, collect them all up, put them in the Spirit World tile. Okay, then it says we need 3 Class 2 ghosts, the Gruesome Twosomes, and then 2 Class 3 ghosts, the Boogaloo Manifestations. So we'll take all these guys and put them in the Spirit World. So next we're going to look at the map key here, and that'll tell us how many of each ghost we need, and we'll take that number and we will place them where the number matching that class is on the picture of the scenario card. Okay, so here we need Class 1 ghosts. We'll put a Class 1 ghost here, 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 and so on. Okay, next we'll go with the Class 2 ghost. It says we need 4 of them in the map key, and then we'll place them where it says 2 on the board. Okay, finally we need 1 Class 3 ghost. We'll place him where it says to place him on the board. Then down here we see an S. Okay, and if we look at the map key, it tells us that's Slimer. So we will take Slimer's mini here and we will place it on the board where the scenario card dictates. Next, we're going to look for our gates. Okay, if we look at the picture, the one with the Ghostbuster symbol on it is closed, and then the other ones are open. So we will take our gate tokens here, we will randomize them, and then we will start putting them out in the spaces indicated by the scenario card. Okay, so if we look down here, this one will be closed, and the other 4 will be open. Whoops, I just realized put them 2 in the wrong space there. Okay, so now would be a good time to check over the board to make sure you got the ghosts and all that in the right space. Next, we want to take the character cards for the ghosts. Okay, so we need 1 character card for class 1, 2, and 3 ghosts, and then we need the class card, the character class card for Slimer. He's a class 5 ghost. Okay, we'll put them off to the side of the board where everybody can read them. Okay, next we're going to take the slime tokens, place them on the side of the board where everybody can reach them. We're also going to take the event die and the randomization die, place them next to the board where everybody can reach them. Next, players are going to decide which Ghostbusters they want to play as. Now, Ghostbusters is designed for a 4-character game. Okay, so no matter how many players there are, all 4 of the Ghostbusters have to be played. You'll just have to split them up amongst the player count. So if you're only playing with 2 players, then each player will get 2 Ghostbusters. If you're playing with 4 players, everybody will get 1 Ghostbuster. If you're playing with 3 players, 2 people will get 1 Ghostbuster, and 1 person will get 2 Ghostbusters. Okay, so you're going to have to decide who plays which character. Once you've done that, you'll give everybody the character sheet, character mini, a die, and 5 of these stream tokens in the character's color, and place them in front of the players. Then, as a group, you're going to have to decide where you want Ecto 1 to start off at. If we look at the scenario card, we can see there is a space that takes up 4 spaces on the board that says Ecto 1 start. As a team, you'll have to decide where in them 4 spaces it starts. Once you do that, you want to take the Ecto 1 tile here, place it on the table near the board, and then take each one of the Ghostbuster figures and place it in Ecto 1. Then, the last step for setup is to choose who is the first player, and you are ready to play Ghostbusters. Okay, so in the rule book, there's about 4 or 5 pages of a comic that tells you what happened and where we are with the board game, the Ghostbusters. Basically, the Idolnus guy, however you pronounce his name, escaped from his vessel and is running amok. He released all sorts of ghosts into our world. Okay, so if you want, you can read that, get some backstory. Alright, now the win and lose conditions for Ghostbusters varies from scenario to scenario. Okay, if we take a look at the scenario card, we hit the one side has the setup, flip it over, and that'll tell you everything you need to know to run this scenario. This is the Slimer sticks around scenario. It says, you track the ugly spud down, but he won't go easily. He's pretty quick, and you might be tempted to close the gates down early, but that might not be the best plan. Okay, now it'll tell us what the gates are called in each scenario, and here it says, the gates in this scenario are nicknamed slime gates, as they tend to spew a lot of slime, even when closed. Okay, below that, it'll have special instructions. So in this scenario, each Ghostbuster will start out with 5 points. Now, when you're running the campaign, you will start off with 0 XP, and then every time you clear a scenario, you play a scenario, your XP will go up depending on certain actions, and you'll just continue to go from 0 up to whatever XP you got to during that scenario. Okay, you can never go above 30, you can never go below 0 experience points. Alright, so in this one-off scenario, each Ghostbuster starts with 5 XP. Now, if we were playing a campaign and you ended your last scenario in that campaign with 10 XP, you would start this new scenario with 10 XP. It goes like that. Another special rule for this scenario is when all of the open gates are closed, all of the ghosts other than Slimer are removed from the board and go to the spirit world. Slimer stays on the board. Then it'll say slime gates. Again, that's the nickname for these gates. And it'll tell you what number you need to hit them with by rolling a die and how many streams you need to close it and any miss conditions. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But below that it says scenario results. Okay. To succeed this scenario, we must close all the gates and trap Slimer. Okay, and that's how a lot of the scenarios working is you're either closing gates and then you gotta trap the big bad, or you gotta just close gates. It varies depending on the scenario, but that's mainly the two things. You close all the gates, you catch the big bad. This scenario will fail when we have to draw from the spirit world and place a ghost on the board, and there are no ghosts in the spirit world to do that with. There's one additional rule for the startup on this that I didn't get into because it varies from scenario to scenario, and that is we have to take our event die, give it a roll, and then we have to close a gate that matches that symbol. Alright, so I rolled the wavy lines here. That gate's already closed. I'd have to roll it again, and then here we have the circle, so we'd have to close that gate. Okay, and that will be listed in the setup section. And again, that varies from one scenario to the next. So in this scenario, there's always two gates closed at the beginning. So we'll place the scenario card off to the side where we can get to it, because we're going to need that throughout the game to see what happens under certain conditions. Okay, now there's 3 phases in the game. We have the Ghostbusters phase, where the Ghostbusters will take their actions. We'll get into how they work in a minute. There's the end of round phase. That depends on which scenario you're playing, whether there is one or isn't. In this case, there is. Slimer here has an end of round phase, and if we look on his card in the special section, it'll say what that is and any special instructions for Slimer. And then we have the event phase. Okay, and that's where we will roll these 2 dice and see what happens. And we'll get in a little more detail in a minute. On a Ghostbusters phase, the Ghostbusters can take up to 2 actions for any Ghostbuster that is below a level 3. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. But for the most part, when you're first playing the game, you're only going to play 2 actions. Okay, so these actions are move, drive, deposit trap ghost, remove slime on an adjacent Ghostbuster, and combat. Along with the 2 actions, there are also special abilities for each Ghostbusters. So if we look down here at the XP level, we'll see they're color coded, and that matches the level of special actions they can take. And they can take any action from the level they are in and previous levels. So right now, Venkman here is at level 2, indicated by this yellow rectangle here. So he could do his level 2 action and level 1 action. If he were in level 4, then he could do from level 4 back to level 1. And there are also things called maneuvers, which are free actions. And we'll get into that in a second. So we'll go on with move. Okay, let me get Venkman here. He's up first. Okay, so say Peter Venkman was standing outside of Ecto 1. He can move, so he could go up to 2 spaces from where he is. And this could be either orthogonally or diagonally, his choice. So that's 1 action, he moved 2 spaces. Now he could choose to do this repeatedly if he wanted. He has 2 action points to spend. So let's say he wanted to move 2 more times. He can do that. Now, there are some obstacles in the game which will prevent movement in line of sight. Okay, and we'll get into line of sight a little bit later on. But I just want to discuss the movement objects now, so obstacles now, so we can get our heads around it. You see right next to Peter here, there is a red line. Anytime you have a red line, you cannot move through it or see through it. Blocks line of sight and movement. So, say Pete wanted to move, he couldn't go 1, 2 because of that red line. He would have to go 1, 2. He'd have to go around it. If we see up here, we got these orange lines. Okay, now with the orange line, you can see through them, but you cannot move through them. Okay, so if this ghost were here, he could see this ghost and he could shoot it, but he could not move next to it, get closer to it, because that would block him from moving. Final obstacle we have is down here. Okay, we have this yellow line. See it right in the middle? This represents steam, stuff like that. Okay, with the yellow lines, you can move through them, but you cannot see through them, or line of sight. It blocks line of sight. So Venkman here couldn't shoot at this ghost because you can't see it, basically. But he could walk through it and then fire at the ghost, because now he can see. Now, as you can see here, Slimer is inside one of these orange boxes, an obstacle. For the Ghostbusters, that would mean that they could see through it, but they could not move through it. Obstacles don't affect the ghost, so they could simply just walk out of it. Okay, but they could not do that with a gate. Okay, a ghost can never be in the same space as a gate token. Now, Ghostbusters and most ghosts, on most circumstances, cannot be forcibly moved off the board. So you cannot go 1, 2, and then go off the board. You have to stay on the board. Okay, certain ghosts are allowed to move off the board, such as Slimer, where he can actually go off the board and come back on the other side if he's ever moved off the board. But that's a special rule. Now, alternatively, instead of moving himself, if Venkman were in Ecto 1, and again, everybody starts in Ecto 1 at the beginning of their game, they can move the Ecto 1. Now, the Ecto 1 cannot move diagonally. They can move in a straight line. Okay. And when you're counting from spaces from the Ecto 1, you want to go from either the front or the back. It doesn't matter if you go forward or reverse. You just can't go diagonal. You can move the Ecto 1 up to 6 spaces. Okay. So let's say we want to go backwards. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So anytime a Ghostbuster, any Ghostbuster, is in Ecto 1 and it's their turn, they can move Ecto 1. Okay, so that was the first 2 actions, movement and the Ecto 1. Okay, next action a player can take is deposit ghosts. Okay, say, throughout the game we're going to be firing a ghost, we're going to be trapping them. When we do trap them, we'll place them on our player sheet. I'll get into that in a second, exactly how that works. But we only have 5 streams. Okay, every time you trap a ghost, you put the number of streams on that ghost that it takes to trap the ghost, and then you can't use those streams until you deposit the ghost in Ecto 1. In order to do this, you have to be adjacent to Ecto 1 on one of the 2 sides. It can't be forward or backwards, or on the diagonals, forward and backwards. It has to be on one of the 4 spaces on the side of Ecto 1. Then you can deposit the ghost in Ecto 1, and you would get your stream back. Then you would take that ghost and place him in the spirit world. Okay, the next action is to remove slime from an adjacent Ghostbuster. Throughout the game, certain game effects will cause Ghostbusters to become slimed. And I'll get into slime a little bit later on. But if you are adjacent to a Ghostbuster, either orthogonally or diagonally, you can spend 1 action to remove 1 slime token from a Ghostbuster adjacent to you. Okay, not yourself, another Ghostbuster. Alternatively, if you are slimed yourself, you can spend all of your actions to remove 1 slime token from yourself. But this is the only action you have, and it has to be at the beginning of your turn. Okay, they're trying to encourage teamwork a little bit here. Okay, next we have combat. During combat, we want to fight ghosts. That's what Ghostbusters are. In every scenario of the base game, there are going to be 3 classes of ghost. Okay, and these are the Galloping Ghoul. These Class 1 ectoplasmic ghosts often appear during a significant surge in psychokinetic energy. They can be harbingers of potentially calamitous paranormal events. Skittish and unpredictable by nature, simple application of a proton stream is usually effective. However, upon impact of positively charged ions, ectoplasma is dispersed in all directions. Keep a safe distance when engaging. Alright, so that's the Galloping Ghouls. And then we have the Gruesome Twosomes. Okay, they are the Class 2 ghost in every scenario. Okay, these Class 2 manifestations are significantly more aggressive than the Class 1 counterparts. They have a stronger hold on our plane of existence and are able to manipulate and pass through physical matter. Positively charged ions from proton packs are usually effective. Once engaged, they will usually not flee. The final ghost are Boogaloo manifestations. They are the Class 3 ghosts. Boogaloo was the leader of thousands of demons that terrorized the Earth 2,000 years ago. A deal was struck between Boogaloo and a group of druids. Boogaloo and the worst of his demons would go off to the netherworld on the condition that they were remembered, which led to the celebration of Halloween. A loophole was found in which Boogaloo could send manifestations of himself back to Earth in order to wreak some havoc on his old stomping grounds. Okay, so they are the 3 ghosts that every scenario will have in them. We also have Slimer here in this particular scenario, but we'll get back to him a little bit later on during the gameplay. Alright, now during combat, we want to catch these ghosts. They bump up our experience. This is how we get to have better special abilities and makes it a little bit easier for us. We're not getting slimed constantly. Alright, so in order to combat a ghost, first thing we got to do is establish that we have line of sight. Alright, now line of sight is up to 3 spaces away from a ghost that is unobstructed by the obstacles which we talked about in movement. Okay, so here, if it was a situation like this, Venkman here could not attack this ghost because this line of sight is blocked by this red line. Now, if he were here, he could attack the ghost. Ecto 1 does not block line of sight. If it was a situation like this, where another Ghostbuster was in front of Venkman, his line of sight would not be blocked. Ghostbusters do not block line of sight. So he could shoot through a stance here, hit the ghost, as long as he's 3 spaces away. Now, if we had a situation like this, where we had one ghost behind another ghost, we could not shoot at the ghost furthest away. Ghosts do block line of sight of each other. Okay, so we couldn't fire at this ghost because this ghost is blocking our line of sight. We'd have to fire at this ghost. Okay, now, anytime a Ghostbuster has a stream on a ghost, and that ghost or the Ghostbuster moves out of line of sight, or behind an obstacle blocking line of sight with the ghost, that stream would be taken off of the ghost. Okay, so say here we had Venkman shooting at this ghost. He already has 1 stream on him. He missed, so the ghost would do its miss condition, which is move 1 space towards the Ghostbuster and then 1 space in a random direction. So 7, he goes diagonally away from Venkman. And now we have this red line and this yellow line, which both block line of sight. So this ghost is out of line of sight of Venkman. So we would take the stream off of the ghost, and Venkman would have to try again later to catch the ghost with 2 more streams. Now, an obstacle I didn't talk too much about with movement was the gates. They do have dotted red lines, okay, and that means it does block line of sight going over the gate. Alright, Venkman here could shoot at the gate with no problem, but he could not shoot over the gate to hit this ghost because the gate will block his line of sight. That's line of sight. First thing to do is determine if you have line of sight. Next thing we want to do is take our proton pack die here and give that a roll. Okay, then we want to compare the results of the die to the ghost character card. Okay, at the top of it is say 2-hit die picture with a number of pips on it, and then it'll say or higher, add a stream. Okay, in the case of the Galloping Ghoul here, which is what we were firing at, we rolled a 4, it's greater than 3. We would place a stream on him, and then we'd have to see if we have enough streams on him to trap him. With the Galloping Ghoul, it's only 1 stream, but we look on his character sheet, look down, it says to trap 1 stream, it means we have enough streams to catch him. We take his figure, put it on our character card, and then for every ghost that you trap, you get 1 point of experience for each stream on that ghost. Okay, like I said, the Class 1 ghosts here only take 1 stream. Class 2 ghosts take 2 streams. Class 3 ghost here takes 3 streams, and then the big bads take different numbers of streams, and it can be that you have to have a number of streams from more than one Ghostbuster. Okay, so like Slimer here, he needs 4 streams at a 4 or higher, and to trap him, he has to have 4 streams from at least 2 different Ghostbusters. Okay, now when you hit a ghost, we want to look down at the character sheet and see where it says when hit. Now for this particular ghost, it says see when trapped. So really isn't anything for this guy. But other ghosts, say the Gruesome Twosome here, say when hit, moves 1 space towards a Ghostbuster. Some will say move 1 space towards a Ghostbuster and 1 in a random direction, something like that. Okay, now when we trap a ghost, we want to look at where it says when trapped, and then that'll tell you a special condition for this ghost. Okay, so in this case, any Ghostbuster that was adjacent to him would get slime. Okay, no Ghostbusters are adjacent to him now, so it won't matter. But say he were here, so we had a stance out again, both Venkman and stance would get slimed. Take one of these slime markers and place it on your character sheet, and this will reduce the amount of actions you have. Okay, now if say it's this setup here where Venkman has 2 actions in the beginning of his turn, he took 1 action to fire at this guy and trap him, and he got slime, his second action is nulled. Okay, so you wouldn't be able to take his second action. It would move on to another Ghostbuster. Okay, so we fired, we hit him, we had enough to trap him, and then if we wanted to, we can use another action to deposit him in the Ecto-1, which will give us our stream back. Remember, we only have 5 of these, and anytime a ghost is sitting on our character card with 1 or more of these streams, they're useless to us until we deposit them. Now we'll take that ghost, place them in the spirit world. Okay, and then certain game effects may bring them out later on to give us grief later on. Now, say we rolled and missed. I actually got pretty lucky with that. Alright. Ghosts also have a miss condition. So we'd have to go down to when missed and see what happens there. So in this case, it says moves 2 spaces in a random direction. Okay, to do that, we take the random die, give it a roll, refer to the PKE meter. Okay, now with the PKE meter, the ghost or the Ghostbuster is depicted in the center, being this Ghostbuster symbol. And then you will move in the direction of the die result. Then that ghost will move 2 spaces in that direction. And that varies from ghost to ghost, so we gotta keep an eye out for that. Okay, now say we had a situation like this where Venkman wanted to hit this Ghostbuster, you missed. The ghost will move 2 spaces in a random direction. He rolled a 2 for the randomization die. Look here, it says he moves 2 spaces straight up towards Venkman. So he'd go 1, 2. Now here we have a problem. A ghost cannot be in the same space as a Ghostbuster or another ghost, and vice versa. A Ghostbuster can't be in the same space as a Ghostbuster or a ghost. Alright, so what we would do in this case is he would go 1, 2, and then move on in the same direction as he was going. Okay, so he can't be in the same space as a Ghostbuster. He'd have to move here, but Venkman here would get slimed as he was going through that space. Okay, now if we had a situation like this, same thing. Venkman went to shoot at him, missed him. He rolled a 2. He's going to move 2 spaces this way. Ghost would go 1, 2 on top of the Ecto-1, and he would stay there. In theory, this has never happened. I usually just push the Ecto-1 over a little bit and place him in the same space. Technically, he's on the Ecto-1, but it's almost impossible to keep these figures on the Ecto-1. But I rant. What would happen is anybody in the Ecto-1, when a ghost is on top of it, would slime the Ecto-1. Okay, so everybody in there would get 1 slime token. Okay, and the Ecto-1 cannot move as long as that ghost is on top. Okay, now whenever you take a slime token, you lose 1 of your actions. Okay, now you can only take as many slime tokens as you have actions. So in the beginning of the game, you only have 2 actions. You can only take 2 slime tokens. You couldn't take a 3rd slime token because you can never have negative actions. Alright, so what this means is you got 2 slime tokens. That round, that turn, you can't do anything except for maybe spend all your actions to remove one slime token from yourself. Alright? Now later on, when you level up in experience, you can gain an additional action, at which time you can take an additional slime token. Okay? You can never take more slime tokens than you have actions. Alright, and finally, when you are attacking ghosts, you want to look at their ghost character cards and see the special section, which will tell you special instances for the ghost. Okay, say Venkman went to shoot at him, missed him, rolled the random die. He's got to move 2 spaces coming this way. Go 1, 2. Now he can't stay in the same space as another ghost. So what would happen is he would automatically end his movement. If it's the same type of ghost, they're both class 1, you would take both of these ghosts off the board and remove them from the game, and then you would go to the box and get one of the gruesome twosome ghosts and replace those 2 ghosts with the gruesome twosome. If 2 gruesome twosomes were to enter the same space, they would get removed from the game, and then you would take a class 3 ghost from the box, place it in the game. Now these guys aren't removed or replaced by ghosts in the spirit world. They're taken from outside of the game. Now the class 3 ghost works a little different. With the class 3 ghost, after a miss movement, we're going to roll the random die. Okay, so say he went to hit him, he missed, the ghost would do their when missed movement. Okay, so it would say move 2 spaces toward the Ghostbuster. So say he went 1, 2, can't be in the same space, so he has to go through him and slime him. Then he would roll random die. Okay, so 4, he could come back, slime him again, and then he would be here. So he would slime him, but he's at his max actions right now, so he wouldn't be slimed. He would, however, get XP for his special ability, but just remember stuff like that. Alright, and then it says when all that's done, you would look at the random movement that you rolled. Look at that number, and then on the even number, anything on an orthogonal would be slimed. On an odd number, everything diagonal would be slimed. Alright, so Venkman will be slimed again because he rolled it even, and it's everything on the orthogonal. And again, he's at his max number, so that doesn't work. Alright, so you want to check the special section for each of the ghosts. Gates work similar to the ghost. You want to, when you attack them, you want to roll a die, see what the result is. You'll look at the scenario card, and that will tell you the die result you need for a hit, how many streams it takes to close the gate, and then what happens when you miss or hit, depending on the scenario. So here, it would take 2 streams on a roll, and each stream needs a roll of 4 or better to hit it. Okay, however, Venkman here missed. Alright, let's say this is his second shot at it. He missed, he rolled a 1. Then we will look at the card, and it will tell you a ghost from the spirit world emerges. Okay, so let's place him on the gate for a second here. What we're going to do is take the event die here, give that a roll, and then look at the PKE meter, and that'll tell you which way the ghost will emerge from the gate from. This works a little different on some scenarios, but most of them are a ghost will emerge. When you're taking the ghost from the spirit world, you want to start off with the class 1s, and then when they're depleted, go to the class 2s. When they're depleted, go to the class 3s. If you go to retrieve a ghost from the spirit world and there's none there, you pretty much lost the game. And then let's say he rolled again and he got a 6. That's enough to place another stream on there. That will actually close the gate. And then every Ghostbuster who has a stream on the gate will get 1 experience point for the number of streams for every stream they have on the gate. So you take the amount of XP you need, you know, and then you close the gate. Okay, so they are the actions a Ghostbuster can take. Now there's a couple additional actions that work a little different. There's 2 of them called maneuvers. What'll happen with a maneuver is, say Peter was here, and we'll go with Zedmore here. He was here, and we'll say at some point in the game, Pete trapped a ghost. Okay, now for free action, if you are adjacent to another Ghostbuster, you can transfer trap ghosts from one Ghostbuster to another. Okay, so Pete would just give Zedmore his ghost. Okay, you got to be adjacent to each other. It's a free action. Another maneuver you can take is if you are next to the Ecto-1 in the 4 spaces on the sides of it, you can enter the Ecto-1 for free. It's a maneuver. Okay, you can also exit the Ecto-1 for free, but you can't do both in one round. You either have to exit it as the maneuver or enter it as the maneuver. Can't do both. Alternatively, you could move through the Ecto-1 as a move action. You have to spend 1 point of action like any other move, and then you go into the car and then out of the car. 1, 2. Like I said, if you are slimed, you can spend all your actions to take 1 point of slime off yourself, but it has to be the only action you take, and it has to be at the beginning of your turn. And then each Ghostbuster has additional special actions that you can do depending on the level of experience they're at. At level 3, all Ghostbusters get an additional action. Okay, so that's the Ghostbuster phase. Next, we will go to the end of round phase. Not every scenario will have this. Okay, it depends on the scenario, and you would read the special section on the scenario card to see what happens. In this case, Slimer will move 2 spaces towards the nearest Ghostbuster that is slimed. So say Venkman here is slimed. Slimer here will go 1, 2. That'll be the end of round effect. Finally, we have the event phase. With the event phase, what I do is I take the random die and the event die, I give them a roll. And then we will look at the die result to see which gate it matches up to. And then we'll look at the scenario card and see what the scenario calls for. Okay, so here we rolled the wavy line one, which is down there. It's a closed gate. We look on the scenario card here where it says when rolling the event die, and that gate is, in this case it's closed. It says each Ghostbusters within line of sight of any closed gate gets slimed. Basically, any Ghostbuster that was within 3 spaces of the gate would get slimed. If we rolled it and say it was the plus gate, it was an open gate, we look at the scenario card here, and then it says a ghost from the spirit world emerges from that gate. We do the same thing as we did previously. We would take the available class ghost, okay, then we would roll the random die, and that's why I roll them together. It just saves a step, and we would move that ghost 1 space in that direction. Okay, now when the chaos symbol is rolled, basically what happens is every ghost within 3 spaces of a Ghostbuster, with line of sight within 3 spaces of a Ghostbuster, goes into a frenzy. What that means is you will refer to that ghost character card, and you will look at the when missed section of it, and then you will fulfill that for every ghost within 3 spaces of that Ghostbuster. Okay, so this guy here has this ghost, this ghost, this ghost, and Slimer within 3 spaces of them. So each of them will do their one missed action. Alright, now for the randomization of it, you would only roll the die once, and then every ghost that is affected by it will use the result for that one random die result. Alright, so here the class 1 ghost goes into a frenzy rather. He will move 2 spaces in that random direction. 1, 2. Okay, this guy will do the same thing. He's the same class. 1, 2. This guy here is a little different. He will move 1 towards the Ghostbuster and then 1 in a random direction. Anytime a ghost moves, he wants to take the easiest path. So if it is possible to make a diagonal movement, they will. Okay, so then he would go 1 more in a random direction. Now with Slimer, any Ghostbuster adjacent to him would get slimed, and then Slimer will move 2 spaces in a random direction. So we'll go over here. That's basically the game. You just keep shooting at the ghost, trying to trap them, follow the special conditions of the scenario and the ghosts, and then when the winning condition for the scenario is met, you win the game. If you ever have to draw a ghost from the spirit world and you cannot, that's usually how you lose the game. Some scenarios are a little different. Okay, and you are ready to play Ghostbusters.